Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining the Recognizing Learning Empowering Charities webinar today. What we're going to talk about is something that is really important in many of your lives and in boosting the impact your excellent specific knowledge and know-how achieves in your own particular uh, subject matter area. And what I'm going to do is talk you through how you can add extra boost and extra value and how we at OpenCPD help you achieve that. There will be an opportunity for questions at the end, and that part will not be recorded, but because it may be specific to your area. So be ready with your questions. I'm going to run through some information that you probably will find useful, and then we will pose for questions. So, what are we talking about today? In many walks of life, training is a really important activity now. In fact, a vast majority of charities already offer some sort of training, either internally to their own members, volunteers, etc., or to the wider area. Many of you in UK not-for-profits offer very specific expertise and knowledge in what you support, and you often provide that with training, which is really boosting people's careers, both internally, volunteers, and also obviously contributing to the overall economy. But relatively few charities consider CPD accreditation for their training, and there is a very good reason for that we will cover in a second. And that's particularly because the CPD accreditation is often perceived as difficult, cost of expensive, time consuming, and all of the above. So what I'm going to talk to you today is going to be, think of yourselves not just a charity doing work, but you're also trainers, you're consultants, you're coaches, and you're event organizers. So suddenly you're in the same pool as a vast majority of other organizations out there who are already using CPD accreditation to boost their training. The important thing is the value that you give to your attendees is what needs to shine through. So we're going to talk today a little bit about lifelong learning and why it matters. And I will specifically go into demystifying CPD accreditation, what it is, what it isn't, very importantly, and how easy and accessible it is to most training organization, and how it can be added to your content. I will also explain a couple of practical tools to do this and help you turn your existing material into accreditation ready, CPD points ready training. So the first part is what exactly is lifelong learning and why it matters. The United Nations Sustainable Development Goals actually list lifelong learning and recognition of lifelong learning as number 4 of the Sustainable Development Goals. And it is extremely important that over a long career, we gain skills, we are participate in a lot of training, and that is encompassed under the terms of lifelong learning. This is what everything that comes not from particular institutions and institutional training, but work-based training, a lot of the annual refresher training you have to participate in. It is changing very fast because both the training providers and the wild world is responding, offering new forms of training, new ways of delivery. It is very decentralized, so it's not linked to particular institutions. It is dispersed in the workforce, in the charity sector, in the not-for-profit workplace. And also, it's not something that us not-for-profits usually consider, but it does. Being able to offer the right kind of training gives advantage, competitive advantage, both in terms of you attracting funding or volunteers, or providing again your expertise to the wider world outside. So lifelong learning matters in all walks of life. Let's talk a little bit about what are CPD points, where do they come from, what is accreditation, and as I said, most importantly, what it isn't. First of all, it's very important to understand that there is no single authority or regulator in the UK that will award CPD points. Certain professional institutions, like the Royal College of various doctors, physicians, surgeons, etc., will quality control their own training, and they can issue CPD points. Again, there are many professions, the Law Society, uh, uh, various accountancy organizations, they control their own training. But it's very important to understand they only control their own training, but they want their members and the professionals to participate in a variety of training. So CPD points don't come from a single company, authority, regulator, etc. They may be regulated by someone, but in general, they are not. They actually come from within your training, and it comes from the structure of the training. Uh, and generally, even institutions that regulate their own CPD evaluation, they look at it in terms of relevance. So they don't just say, oh, you've done this training, great, we know that it's CPD accredited. What they will say is that, is this important or relevant to that person's professional development, which is a really important point. If you imagine that you go on the best, most recognized accountancy training, but you are a lawyer, is it relevant? Maybe, maybe not. If you're practicing that part of lower accountancy training is really important, that's, yes, it will be relevant. For other parts, what, not necessarily. If you go on an excellent uh, uh, um, for example, training on how to manage certain types of community eye disease, that would be absolutely relevant for an ophthalmologist, maybe a GP, maybe a nurse, but it's not going to be relevant to a cardiologist or somebody who is a pathologist. So the important thing is, it's not just the training itself and the CPD accreditation. The regulators and the uh, institutions evaluate, and in terms of issuing, they can come from anywhere, provided the training is structured and the evidence is provided the right way. And of course, what I'm going to talk about in the rest of the session is how to provide that correct structure, how to provide that differentiation, what's different in your course, what you're already doing. We can take it to the next level. And of course, part of the reason why you want to do it, because you want to help the people you have trained. So for example, if you deliver the safeguarding training to somebody, they go back, even if they were a volunteer in your organization or maybe a trustee, they go back to their workplace and they will get recognition, because it will be relevant in their if it's relevant for the career. HR managers like it, recruiters like it. It's an extra skill, and you can provide the evidence. So let's think about what you need to do. And I mentioned that the value of CPD points and relevance come from within a training, and come from three very simple bits in your training. Clearly define learning aims. You absolutely have to define those, because otherwise, what are we all planning to do? We're just having a nice chit chat. So we need to have clearly defined learning aims. We also need to define what skills are transferred. Again, it's just a list. assessment of, I don't know, situation or the ability to evaluate something. So specific skills are need to be listed or identified for uh, the training to be CPD valued. And of course, at the end of it, the training should achieve certain outcomes, and these ideally should be measurable. So, for example, somebody is able to carry out a certain procedure or assessment or respond. So it's not just they have been taught something, they are now internalized that training and now they have achieved certain outcomes. I will give some material later on in the presentation on how you can find specific examples. We give a lot of support on how to do this. A lot of training providers and yourselves already structure your training this in this way because that's the way to do it. You want to do it at the very beginning, even if before you created the actual training material, you should be deciding what the learning aims are, what skills you're transferring, and the outcomes. And it's also important to know that how those skills are transferred or how those learning outcomes are achieved can vary. You can learn to uh, do certain things in a variety of it. Maybe it was a face-to-face training, maybe it was on the job training, maybe it was over a period of time. The important thing is what has been achieved or what has come out of it. So the how, we will talk about how the how gets incorporated in this, but not necessarily, it's not uniform because people learn differently. So you can achieve the same outcomes through a variety of ways. In this context, at this point, people will say, okay, great, the CPD comes from within the training, but where are they? How do I calculate them? And again, because there is no written regulation, there is a very good rule of thumb. Generally, 1 hour of active learning is recognized as one CPD point. We need to have something that we helps account. If you do a quick webinar such as this one, it will probably be less than an hour. Or maybe a little bit longer, but that's generally regarded as 1 point. But if you do a whole day training, maybe morning and afternoon, but a bit of a coffee break, bit of a lunch break, maybe a bit of networking at the end, that's probably, even if it's over maybe 7 hours, the active learning content will be less. So maybe 5 hours, six, again, depends on how you organize it. Equally, if you give people preparation, homework, assessment, assessed work, that also counts as active learning. So, for example, if I'm doing a training that requires a submission of some material afterwards, I may allow two points or 2 hours at the end of it. So, the important thing is active learning and don't include the coffee breaks. But it is, again, you as a training provider are in the best position to decide how many points that exactly is. When so when we have achieved this, what can we do with this? So if we think about this, we have structured our learning into the correct fashion, aim, skills, and outcomes, identified those. We even decided how many CPD points is that worth. Let's say it was a whole day workshop, probably 5 hours of active learning. So then what? What does it actually mean and why? How does it get transformed into something else? Well, the first thing is when you do this, you need to provide the evidence of what that was. And that's what we do here at OpenCPD. So we make it very easy for you to provide the right kind of evidence, which incorporates into the certificate itself, incorporates the aim, skills, and outcomes. And I'm going to show an example in a second. And also it incorporates the provider who delivered their training. So that would be yourselves. It's really important that the evidence you provide is traced back to you because you provided the training, it is your expertise, and it's your expertise that needs to shine through. So the first thing is you use best practice, and then you can then start adding the CPD accreditation to all your invites, your posts on social media. You are now CPD accredited. And it's also really important what will happen with your attendees when they receive these certificates. They will also receive the certificates and the outcome in a digital badge form that they can share. And this is the cherry on the cake. Imagine that I went on a safeguarding training. I received a lovely certificate that I can actually take back to my employer, maybe on my day job, to say I am now I have achieved these skills, and then I can share the digital badge on my social media. So I'm going to stop here just so that I can show you some examples. Okay, so as in this, as I showed on the certificate, it incorporates, it has a front page, it incorporates the aim, skills, and outcomes as you have defined for your own training, and you can have as many as you want. You can adapt them, update them, or create new ones. And also, it's incorporating your details and a bit about the verification that so once you issue the certificates, they're unique, tamper proof, and auditable. And alongside this, there is also a unique and auditable digital badge that your attendees can share on their they can share on their social media. So, uh, how can we help you achieve all this? Well, first of all, you do the amazing work, so we don't want to come in the way. So we have created a platform and the pricing structure that is very, very easy to use. In fact, we optimized it for both cost and ease of use. So we offer credits for certificates. Basically, you can just buy a pack of certificates or a pack of credits, and that you consume that against certificates. So it's not per course or not per event. You can have as many as you want. Sometimes one course is popular, sometimes it takes a while for it to take off. The important thing is you can find the pricing on our website. You can start with a very simple package of £50. And because we are supporting UK-based not-for-profits, if you're one of those not-for-profits, for that £50, you will get 50 certificates. So that means that literally every certificate costs you no more, just £1. And that is the simplest they can get. Obviously, there are different packages. So we will, everything you do, because you are not for profits and we want to support you in your activities and double your reach, every credit you buy, we at Open CPD will contribute one credit. So you can issue twice as many certificates for the same amount of money. We also provide, I mentioned earlier that we give you specific examples, and I might do that in the questions in the not recorded part. But if you're watching this video, come onto our website because we have an excellent guide to crafting accreditation ready courses. So we give you specific examples, how to phrase it, how to define aim, skills, and outcomes. We also have a quite extensive resources section where we talk about all sorts of things, CPDRs, and how to issue certificates, and how to do in specific areas or industries or sectors, etc. And of course, I'm here to help, and I'm here to guide people through this process. So you can definitely find me on LinkedIn. So in summary, Uh, Creating a CPD certification for your existing training course is very, very simple. You are already doing most of the heavy lifting. The only thing is you need to make sure that your course or event is structured and it does have clearly defined aims, skills, and outcomes. Once you do that, you can issue CPD points because you've already done the heavy lifting. The CPD points relate to the number of hours of active learning. And when you've done all of that, you might as well provide the evidence. And here at OpenCPD, we help you provide that evidence on a very simple and easy to manage platform where one certificate is one credit, and we contribute to your credits for UK not for profit organizations. All you need to do is you sign up, you buy a package, send us an email about your uh, charity commission registration number. We will check, and if it checks out, naturally we will double every single credit. So everything you buy, we will add an extra credit for that, so that your um, uh, reach goes further. So this is the recorded part of the webinar today. I am going to stop the recording now. If you're watching the recording, please get in touch. The details are on the screen, and we look forward to answering more of your questions. Thank you.